There we go.
Awesome. Well, welcome to Super Centex After Dark. It's been a rough night for most of us. Levi almost hit a deer. Some of us
Wait,
had to
where
have
did you almost hit
dinner.
the deer, Levi? I think that might be the most interesting thing of the night.
It will be. It will be. I'm not. I'll explain that when we get to my game. I still need to proofread my story, but it was on the
Wait,
way home.
what game were you at?
I was at Mexia West in Mexia.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've almost hit deer out there before.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll start with you, Chad, because you saw, the
It
Vega
was an
High
important
in the
one.
spring game. Yeah. It was
Yeah, it was an important one. Yeah, so La Vega wins, right? So they're 2-0. Robinson won, so they're
yeah.
2-0.
We play next
And
week.
yeah, so and Coach Hyde was not happy with the way things went. He thought they should have probably scored 35 or 40 points in the first half, and I tend to agree with him. That they didn't really get Bryson Rowland going in the running game. They hit him for a couple of touchdown passes. Courtney Parr threw a couple of touchdown passes to him. They did score 14 points off turnovers and another touchdown off a fourth down stop. So, they did enough to stay ahead of China Spring, in the first half. But just overall, I don't think he thought they were physical enough up front. So then I asked him about next week, and I knew he wasn't going to bite on this one, but I said, possible district championship game, and he said, "There's way too many games left to worry about that yet." But really, there's not, because the winner of that game next week is 3-0 in
Hmm.
district, and everybody else is going to have at least one loss, right, going into the last 2 weeks of the regular season. And if I'm let's see. And the way it shakes out is either China Spring or Gatesville will be winless, and the other will have one district win. And then Lorena and Conley will play, and the winner of that will be two and wait will be
Yeah, they'll be 2-1, whoever wins next week
2-1.
between.
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I mean, Coach Hyde is right. I mean, if they beat Robinson, they still got two-and-one teams left on their schedule in district, or a 2-1 and a 1-2. So, you know, next week's game is big. I mean, let's
Yeah.
just let's just put it like that. I think it's probably going to be a district championship. I think any of us will look at it and say it's probably going to be a district championship. So it'll be he did say it would be fun. And by the way, Don Hyde, graduate of Robinson High School. So
Yeah, I mean, Robinson had a pretty complete game tonight over Connally. The second quarter was a little iffy, but like they came out and scored on every drive of the second half. And
oh
like,
wow.
yeah, I mean, there was a point in the like late in the second half. There's like a little almost 4 minutes left on the clock. Um, and Evan Moreno, it takes him 2 plays to blast off for a 48-yard touchdown. There's
Mm,
still a lot, there's still 3 minutes and like 40 some seconds left for Conley to get the ball back, and then they go and score. But like Robinson had already padded their lead, right? They'd iced the game at
mm-hmm.
this point. It was just up to defense, and Connolly was having some trouble getting their run game really going. Like they had some big plays, but like surprisingly, it was the passing game that got them in position to score. And Jamarian Vincent, like this season, that's been a huge emphasis for him. So at least there's that silver lining that they're figuring out the passing game, but they really couldn't do much defensively to really stop that hard-nosed Robinson.
Well, and that's been Robinson's story, right? I mean, Robinson's defense has been its oomph.
Yeah, they played pretty solid tonight, and then like offensively, like I said, complimentary football. They had some holding and false start penalties, especially in the first half where it was like just didn't really make sense. And then that second quarter, I guess there was a bad read and Bryce McCurdy threw a pick, and Conley came back and scored off of that to make it and they'd had a field goal earlier in the quarter as well. So it was 14-10 going to the half. after Robinson had come out, forced 2 3-and-outs for Connally to start the game and put up a pair of touchdowns. But like they would get behind the chains and they were like composed, right? Like they were not worried about being like 2nd and 20. And Bryce McCurdy came up with some big passes. Like he only had like he went 6 for 9 completions, but he had 100 and something yards. I don't even have my notes on me, but yeah, no, it was a pretty complete game. I think Robinson could beat La Vega next week, and if they're 3-0, they're gonna be district champs because like they only have Lorena and Gatesville on their. Well, no, they just beat Lorena. They only have China Spring and Gatesville on their
Yeah.
schedule after that.
Boy, I mean, great Central Texas ball game, and I don't think even 2 or 3 weeks into this season, I don't think we thought we'd be saying Robinson might be the favorite to win that district.
Yeah.
Like I think going in like season preview wise, we were like maybe Robinson has a chance to get fourth.
Yeah. Anyway, another team that we thought was definitely gonna be winning their district was University Trojans, but they barely squeaked by Belton tonight. So, Michael, why don't you tell us a little bit about that game?
Yeah, absolutely. To put it the way Kron put it with me after the game, I mean, it's been the same sob story every week with them in the sense of, if we could just get out of our own way, we'd be a pretty dang good football team. And, obviously they got the win. That's what matters, right? You obviously don't want to suffer a loss to a winless opponent like Belton, but yeah, they did just enough to get by. There's some context to that. They were without JD Bell going into that game. I'm not sure what his injury is, but he was out, and I'm not even sure if he played last week. I think he did, but I don't know that for sure. And I mean, I think it was either the first or the second drive of the game. London Smith like tweaked his knee, and he kind of limped off and didn't play the rest of the first half, and then he came back out in sweats. So I was like, oh well, he's done. So he didn't play. So they were already down 2 playmakers, and yeah, they're a little depleted right now in terms of their playmakers. They really had to rely on Evans, their stud running back senior. He's obviously we know how good he is, and I guess that's the luxury of when you have so many playmakers. Even if you're down a couple guys, you can still get it done. And he had he ripped off his 60-yard touchdown on their third play from scrimmage. I mean, and he rolled to over 150 rushing yards, and he was just doing his thing. But it was just like a little bit of a lack of execution on both sides of the ball. Their O-line in particular really struggled tonight. University, like, I mean, like Belton wasn't loading up the box and just selling out on the run necessarily, particularly early. I think kind of down the stretch they ended up doing that, but like it wasn't like Belton was just, again, just like loading up the box and making it miserable for them to run the ball. They were just getting outworked simply for most of the game. And yeah, that's kind of what Kron chalked it up to after the game. He's like, look, we've got enough talent to be, as good as good as we want, especially in this district. But if it continues to be that same song and dance, I mean, they're going to get beat, and obviously they've had some adversity this year.
Well,
yeah,
that song was real hot about a month ago when they beat China Spring, and it's kind of gotten old. It's gotten overplayed. We've heard it too many times now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
when you look at that game, we were so excited. China Spring University that night, and now China Spring sitting there at 1-6, and Universities looks like a playoff team, but I don't think they're going to beat Brenham.
No,
I don't think it's going to be close.
Well, and Brenham beat they
Rudder.
beat Rudder tonight, obviously. Brenham's obviously state ranked and really good, but I guess if there's a silver lining in all of this, you'd rather have these mistakes now, not in district play, like that's not ideal, but if they can just hang in there, win enough. Obviously they've got Waco
High next week.
Waco High next week's that'll be fun to kind of rekindle that, get that game played again. That'll be fun. But yeah, I mean again, like you hate to have these setbacks, but if you can just kind of, clean it up before playoffs when it really, really matters, like they're obviously talented enough to beat anyone.
Hey, we haven't heard from Daniel yet. New
Yeah,
guy on the
Daniel
podcast.
was actually at that Waco High game. So Daniel, why don't you
Dude,
tell us a little bit about that?
it wasn't
Really another tough loss for the Lions.
it wasn't even Waco High. It was the Colleen Ellison and the Sydney Holland show. I think I totaled it up. They threw the ball 47 times against Waco High, and Sydney Holland completed 35 of them for 352 yards. And
Wow.
3 touchdowns by air, 1 by himself. After the game, I talked to him and I said, it just looked like the game was just coming to him and he was controlling it. He said that's one of his biggest things that he tries to do is he has so much trust in his teammates. He said, I know that they're playmakers. And so if the defense is coming at me and I have to move the play, he said, I know where I put the ball, my teammates are going to go make the play. And so defensively, Waco High would push the ball down the field and then just go 3 and out in the red zone or 3 and out on the opposite side of the field or turnover on downs. And then they struggled a lot towards the end of the game. When they got down, they were trying to come back a lot, but would fumble. They threw a pick 6 to what's his name? Samaje Howard for Colleen Ellison, and it was just a freak athletic play because he's a defensive end. Pass got tipped. He jumped, caught the ball, then ran around the edge to go score it.
Big man TD.
And that's big man TD it was, and that
Stick six.
is what it. They scored 20 points through the first 3, and then scored just 20 in the fourth. All one of them was a scoop and score, so it was just the wheels fell off for Waco out of halftime.
I don't know
All
if
right.
any of us are super surprised that Waco High still can't really.
Yeah,
Get
I mean
things
they
together.
showed some life. They showed some life through non-district, but we're getting real whittled down to teams that look like they're going to be around in the playoffs for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Waco showed life through the first half, and it really you thought they were going to come out in that second half and march the ball down the field, but they had a 3 and out. Then they held Ellison to punting the ball, and then just gave up a big pick 6, and so they just really got down on themselves and had some stuff towards the end where it was just games trying to get over, and you just have unsportsmanlike conducts going both ways. So.
Oh yeah. Okay, so you saw a 40-0 game, which is never fun, right? But poor Levi, was at a 7-6 ball game, and then he hit a deer.
Almost, yeah. It was actually
hit a deer.
almost hit a deer, yeah. But this game was crazy.
That's not a thing. Almost hitting. I thought you hit the deer.
No, so it was like right in front, and I swerved.
You swerved, but there was no damage to your car, and the deer
Damage to my wall. Thankfully, there's no damage to my car. When I swerved, I lost control, and I thought I cooked my engine, but we're good. We're good.
Hey, the last buck I got was with my Mazda 3.
Yeah, my Camry. I was a little
jinx me like that. As I drive a Mazda 3.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I didn't know we were Mazda 3 buddies.
Yeah.
All right. Well, tell us about that 7-6 thriller you saw.
Yeah, it actually was a pretty crazy game. So it was 0-0 at halftime. I think early on, West was missing some key guys. They were missing Coy Klish. They were missing their backup running back. And so early West couldn't really do anything on offense. And so you kind of kept waiting for Mejia to go out and take the lead, but they just kept getting in their own way, as some of y'all other guys saw that tonight, but they just kept getting penalty after penalty after penalty. They kept having to play behind the sticks in the first half and just could never score. And then I think as the game went on, West was like, we actually are in this game. We can win this game. And yeah, in the third quarter, they had a really successful drive. I think Aiden York, I think he's their third string running back, had a huge run, scored a 16-yard touchdown. They took the lead 7-0. And the story of the night was West defense. They totaled 8 PFLs. They limited Jaquez Cooper to 121 yards on 27 carries, which I mean for him, that's pretty good because he's a beast. And Braden Wilson only threw for 85 yards, so it was very impressive. Coach Noel after the game said that was the best defense they faced this year. Coach Woodard said the defensive performance tonight was lights out. It was incredible. And then the crazy thing about this game was it was 7-0 with a minute left. West was going to kick a field goal, like a chip shot field goal to go up 10-0, make it a 2-possession game, pretty much ice it. Doinks it off the left crossbar. Mejia goes 80 yards. They complete like a 3rd and 20. They complete 2 4th downs on the drive. This is like an 8-minute drive, or sorry, just like an 80-yard drive. They get down to the 1-yard line and they get stopped 3 consecutive times. So it was like a very Baylor, Oklahoma State reminiscent type possession on the fourth and goal at the 1. Braden Wilson somehow scores. West thinks it's a fumble. They have the ball. I didn't think he got it personally. There was like a lot of controversy, but they ruled it a touchdown. West's coaching staff, their sideline wasn't very happy. So you're like, all right, this game's going to overtime with how everything has gone down. Then the extra point gets blocked. And so all the momentum goes to West sideline, and it's crazy. And so you're like, yeah, this game's over. I'm packing up my bag. I'm ready to go down to the field. And then Mejia gets the onside kick, just a beautiful onside kick. They complete with like 20 seconds left. They complete a few passes. So it's going to be a 39-yard field goal to win from a freshman kicker. And,
who just had an extra point blocked.
Yeah. And in my mind, I was like, with all the situation with Micah Curtin, with all that emotions, it feels like it's kind of like, it feels like they just have to make this field goal.
A destiny win.
Yeah, just kind of like a destiny moment. But no, West just, again, they blocked the field goal. Their sideline went crazy. And I think for Mejia, emotionally, they kind of were flat early in this game. And then credit to West. I mean, they totally shut down their offense. And as the game went on, I think they felt more confident that they could win the game. And Coach Noel after the game said, like, if you would have asked me what the score, like a score prediction, 7-6 probably would have been what I'd say. And then that was like the definition of West Trojan football, because that was just a very eat the clock, wear them down with the run game, and just be dominant on defense. And so it was a really good game for West, and kind of a tough loss for Mejia that they should have walked away with.
Well, Coach Bomar at Groesbeck was ready to make Mejia the district favorite,
Yeah. And that was kind of crazy. I mean, after they scored 41 points last week, and then they only scored 6 tonight. And it really was not close. I mean, they obviously penalties kind of hindered them in the first half, but West just completely dominated them up front.
I watched on Max, I watched a little bit of Serengeti, the nature documentary Serengeti today, and the zebras. This one zebra was chasing off the other zebras, to protect his herd of zebras, right? And that's kind of what Grandview's doing. They're kind of nipping and they're chasing away all the other contenders for that district.
Yeah, it's wide open, and I think both coaches afterwards said, like, everything we want is still in front of us. And I mean, even after a tough loss like that, it's the truth for Mejia. And Mejia, by the way, they had the best uniforms I've ever seen from a high school team. It was like a white helmet with like the little those were sick. I love them.
I've seen those on Twitter before. Yeah.
Perfect. I mean, that district is really interesting. West played Maypearl last week and lost by a score, but they've got an O-line that's like ginormous.
Maypearl does.
Yeah.
And Maypearl beat Whitney tonight by like, I want to say 3 points, 4 points.
2. Yeah, 4, 26-22.
Yeah, 20. Yeah. So man, like we were talking about Whitney being, district title contenders, and I feel like a lot of the competition in this area is pretty open right now. And in this district, and I mean, obviously 12-4A, it's Robinson and Vega are at the top, but everybody else is kind of like,
well, and Troy is 1-1 and looking pretty good in their district. Also, McGregor with a win tonight over Rockdale. That score caught my eye.
Yeah. I feel like McGregor was due one. Like I always get their stats and I'm like, they look like they're playing so well on paper. They're just not
Mhm.
putting it together at the end, and then
Yeah.
the other team always comes out also putting together a good game. So I
Hey,
think
before we leave tonight, I got to mention one play from my game that I forgot to mention earlier.
Mhm.
So Jabari Thornton, this is kind of almost like scrub time because La Vega is way ahead. But Javen Hernandez throws the ball up for Jabari Thornton right around the goal line. He mosses his defender, gets the ball, like kind of is trying to control it, falling back into the end zone, juggling the ball, hits on his back, is on his back, and finally secures the catch. Right. And like he just gets up and starts walking. Like, can you guys believe that? And, like I have this like great these photos of him walking right back towards the sideline. Like, can y'all believe that just happened? But illegal formation penalty
Oh yeah.
wiped it out. Yep.
Something similar happened for Connally where they had CJ Evans go in at quarterback and move Jamarian Vincent out
Mm-hmm.
to the edge, and like he made the catch at the sideline. They were like inside the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have like cut Connolly's deficit by, like it would have made it a real game.
Mm-hmm.
But they called it back because of an illegal formation.
Yeah,
So
there's so many little rules about who has to be lined up over what, and I don't know, it's crazy. I've been covering this game for 30 years. I'm not sure I understand all the formation rules.
Yeah, I had something like that. Waco, when they were down 20-0, they ran a fake punt, but
Mm-hmm.
but it was a rush, and so their receiver got flagged because he came over in like a jet sweep motion, but
Mm-hmm.
they got flagged for illegal formation because they didn't have 5 men set on the line. They said
Yeah,
punt. They
yeah.
said punt formation isn't an exception, and they almost didn't get shut out. They blocked an extra point and took it for the scoop and score, but that one also got called back for an illegal block in the back on Waco High. So it's almost 40-2 instead of 40-0.
yeah, well, I think we're all pretty tired. Michael's still about to go into Buc-ee's. Maybe bring me back a burrito because I haven't had anything to eat since before noon.
I can do that. If anyone else wants anything, let me know.
Make it two, bro.
Two? Okay.
Right.
All right.
Chad, are you going to Tech tomorrow?
No, I'm going to Colorado Springs on Sunday, so I'm flying out Sunday morning from DFW.
Oh.
But I will say, wreck 'em.
Do the Manitou incline for me, please.
Oh
you know-
no, I'm no, strictly golf and fine dining.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right, y'all. Get to
Good night.
bed. It's late.
All right, later.